Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day, live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz at Baton Rouge Studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. It means we're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. And Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Fired up you are here with us. Plenty to do as we start working towards the long holiday weekend. One more work day for us tomorrow. We're on fully from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. tomorrow. And then we'll shut it down on Saturday for shut it down on Friday for the 4th of July. We got lots to do today on this Wednesday edition of the show. Koki Riley one more time in his weekly spot. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll talk about LSU in the transfer portal and kind of what this draft class looks like from an LSU perspective. It's What If Wednesday. Still got some time to get some of those in the next 30 minutes at Hunt Palmer 88 on Twitter. Of course, those of you in the Bayou Ford chat can hit me up there as well. In the second hour, I want to talk about potential SEC Media Days invitees from LSU who might get that nod. I've got some guesses. We'll kick that around a little bit. And then The Athletic did a piece on biggest question entering the summer for each NFL team. And I want to get to the Saints burning question that Larry Holder posed. We'll get to that at 2:15. So lots and lots to do. Lock us in. Let's start the same way we start every single day. That's with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Two announcements coming tonight, 6 o'clock here on this Wednesday, that may impact LSU. The hope is that they impact LSU, and right now the prevailing thought is that they will impact LSU. Five-star edge rusher Trenton Henderson is set to make his announcement, and then J.J. Bush, a linebacker who is ranked a 4-star by On3, will make his announcement at 6 o'clock tonight as well. And I want to talk about both of these players because June was jam-packed with visitors for LSU. I mean, high-profile names, weekend after weekend, official visits, rolling out the red carpet, the meals, the visits, the photo shoots, the Twitter posts, Instagram tracking. Like, it was wall-to-wall in June. Now, I don't know that I was as locked into it as maybe some of you are because LSU is chasing a national championship in baseball, and that's what we spent more of our time on. But we were certainly aware that a lot was going on from a recruiting perspective, and it was pretty light on commitments. You got one. You got one. Quarterback from Winsboro is going to play corner for you. But you figure that some dominoes are going to start falling at some point, and for LSU, the hope is that's tonight. We'll start with Trenton Henderson, who is from Pensacola. He's 6'4", 225 pounds. If you look at 24/7, they rate him as the number 28 player in the nation, a 5-star recruit, the number 4 edge rusher in the country, number 5 player in the state of Florida. And all indications are that he is likely headed to LSU. You look at the crystal balls. You see that LSU is the leader there. Florida's in the mix. LSU's in the mix. Florida State's in the mix. Michigan is in the mix. One of the things I really like about Trenton Henderson, and there's a lot to like. You look at a guy who is 6'4" and 225 pounds, long limbs, lean, athletic, and you look at his statistics in high school, and as you'd expect, he's really good. 50 tackles, 18 TFLs, 20 hurries, 10 sacks in 10 games as a junior. So you're talking about a guy who's getting back there and hurrying the quarterback twice a game and had a sack a game for Pensacola Catholic. But I also like the fact that he plays basketball. I like those hybrid athletes who use skill sets in different ways. And then once you get to LSU, wherever your college destination may be, but in this case, you hope for Trenton Henderson that it's LSU. You hope that you can hone in all those athletic traits and then be coached up by some of the best coaches in the country to kind of reach your full potential. So I like the fact that Henderson has played basketball in his prep career. Kevin Peoples is leading this recruiting for LSU, and to me, there's a lot to sell for Kevin Peoples because you're talking about two guys that just left and just got picked in the NFL draft. that prior to their 2024 season were not elite level players. Braden Swinson bounced around Oregon down to LSU. Even his first year at LSU was kind of a rotational piece. Savion Jones came in as kind of the next guy to take over. You had K'Lavon Chaisson and B.J. Ojulari, and he was kind of going to be next, and it never really panned out, and he put on a good bit of weight, and then he lost his burst, and he just, I went into last season thinking, well, that guy's not going to be a great player. And both those guys were excellent this past year in Kevin Peoples' first year coaching the edge rushers. And so that's a really easy story to tell. It's not in the distant past. You can have those guys help you tell it. And it to me would entice the best edge rushers in the country to at least take a look at LSU. And if you look at the profile, like Trenton Henderson is one of the best edge rushers in the country, and he is looking at LSU, and the hope for the Tigers tonight is that Henderson does pull the trigger. You have to continue to get these guys in the boat from the high school ranks. And there are probably some of you that will push back on that and be like, no, the portal's fine. Look what they just did. Went and got Patrick Payton, just got Jamari Butler, went and got Jack Pyburn. Like, they can just fill the pipeline with that. But that's an every year thing. And you don't get the chance to bring them in and develop them over multiple years. And it is something that is necessary for the program to do that each and every year. But if you can get Trenton Henderson in and get him into the culture, get him into the weight room, get him into the defensive system, get him in with Kevin Peoples, and then you can have multiple years of him as opposed to a guy like Butler or a guy like Payton or a guy like Pyburn, take your pick, that is here for just 1 year, you get more production. So I think this is a big ad potentially for LSU. Tigers have had a ton of success recruiting Florida over the last 2 decades, and they hope that this one right out of the Panhandle is next up for them. So Trenton Henderson, probably the biggest name to watch for today, but J.J. Bush is another name to watch today. He's going to announce a little bit later this afternoon. He is a linebacker, 6'3", about 210 pounds. He hails from Theodore, Alabama, and LSU is fighting off teams like Florida, teams like Missouri, teams like Miami for his services, and LSU appears to be in a really good spot for him. Now, if you look at Bush, he is a really, really good athlete, like really good. He's 6'3", 210 pounds, but he also, and I mentioned this with Henderson, is a multi-sport guy. 18.9 points per game and 8.5 rebounds per game on the basketball court this past season. He was a Coastal Alabama all-regional selection as a junior. 19 points and 8.5 rebounds is no joke on the high school basketball circuit. Then he goes and runs track, and he runs a 24.32 in the 200-meter, and he long jumps 20.8 as an 11th grader, as a junior. So you're talking about 200-meter speed, long jump athleticism, the hand-eye coordination to be able to score 19 points a game in high school basketball and grab 8.5 rebounds. And oh, by the way, he plays linebacker and running back and returns kicks for his high school. Last year at running back, he ran for 350 yards and 6 touchdowns, and LSU's recruiting him as a linebacker. And it's not like he's all these athleticism things, but he's a little bit undersized. He's 6'3". You take that frame, that kind of athleticism, and you turn him into a full-time football player, and you get him into a collegiate weight room and a strength program, nutrition program. That's a guy it's easy to see putting on 25, 30 pounds. Now you're 6'3", 230, and one of the best athletes on the field. I think this is a really promising prospect that Blake Baker has been handling the recruiting on. Arkansas is certainly in the mix. I mentioned Missouri's in the mix. Baylor's in the mix as well. I'm a little bit puzzled. And again, I don't pretend to sit here and be some sort of elite talent evaluator on the football side of things. Like, that's not my corner of the store. Y'all know that. So I'm not here to break down the hand placement and the bend and all. Like, that's not my deal. But it's surprising to me that somebody with these measurables and these athletic traits is not on more national power radars than Bush is. I mean, I don't mean to be completely flagrantly disrespectful to Arkansas and Missouri and Baylor, but they don't exactly swim in the same waters as LSU, and I'm sure Eli Drinkwitz would push right back on that, and he would be wrong. But that's okay. I'm surprised that you're not talking about more high-profile programs taking a look at him. He's a 4-star recruit by 24/7. If you look at the 24/7 composite, he is a 3-star recruit, number 493 nationally. But look, 24/7's got him as the number 16 linebacker in the country. And I just think based on the frame and the athleticism, like that tends to make a lot of sense. So these two guys are set to make their announcements later this evening. LSU is crystal balled, is recruiting prediction machine, is whatever site you want to look at. They are the favorites to land both of them. And certainly the coaching staff hopes that a long June of recruiting pitches and visits and hosting parents and pitching kids and then going ahead and doing the FaceTiming and everything that goes into it. Finally, that's a couple of commitments here on this 2nd of July. So wanted to start the show there. Very important stuff for LSU as they look to continue to build on that 2026 class they're trying to ink in December of this year. So Trenton Henderson and J.J. Bush, your names to watch for this evening. All right, we're off and running. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Shout out to our guy, Joey Blanchard. Look, here's the deal. You are going to likely spend some time near a pool this weekend. A lot of us will. Maybe it's yours. Fantastic. Maybe it's not. You got to travel to go to one. Is that because it's not time for you to build a pool, or is that because you just haven't started that process yet and you've got a pool of your dreams in mind? If that's the case, Renaissance Homes and Pools can help you out. Go to the website, builtbyrenaissance.com, and fill out that Contact Us form. Joey Blanchard and his team will get to you, and you're going to work with Joey from start to finish. You'll look at the software. It's 3D, scaled. You can perfectly design exactly what you want that pool or that outdoor kitchen or both to look like, and Joey will walk you through it every step of the way. He's the owner at Renaissance Homes and Pools. He's done it for dozens and dozens of people in the Baton Rouge market. He can do it for you next. It's pool season. It's summertime. Makes us think, man, what if I had that pool in the backyard to cool off every evening? Renaissance Homes and Pools can help you out with that. Call Joey directly, 225-252-7745. Again, that's 252-7745 in the 225 area code. Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com. Step aside, come back. Koki Riley talking some baseball with the current roster and the transfer portal next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. When I say renovating, remodeling, you may think just a massive, invasive project that takes time, is massively expensive, and there are some that are like that, sure, but it doesn't have to be. It could be something very simple like a tub-to-shower conversion. If you don't use that tub, you don't have two rugrats like me, they're taking a bath every night at 6:30, you don't ever get up in the bathtub, you're just taking showers, well, take the bathtub out. Put in the gorgeous glass walk-in shower, changes the look of your bathroom, functionality of your bathroom, add some value to the home. Just make everybody happier in the domicile. Go ahead and contact our guy, David Duvall. Onebathandclosets.com is where you can find him. Get that free consultation. Doesn't cost you anything to just chat with David about what they can do. You can find pictures of their great work on the website as well. It's One Bath and Closets. Check them out online at onebathandclosets.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
What if Wednesday? We've got I got 4 or 5 already queued up here. But if you're in the Bayou 4 chat or on Twitter, you can hit me at HuntPalmer88 and send me some more what ifs. Got some good ones that involve some baseball, involve some SEC what's the word I'm looking for there? Realignment. SEC realignment issues. Some baseball for next year. Some scheduling preferences for 2 weeks from now when we're in Atlanta for SEC Media Days. So we'll take some of those if you got them in the Bayou 4 chat or on Twitter at HuntPalmer88. Appreciate you all for interacting with us there. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. So one more time, Koki Riley from The Advocate will jump aboard and talk a little LSU baseball with us. Been doing it all season long, and now we're very much into the off season, and Koki's still working things over there at The Advocate as Jay Johnson looks to put together the 2026 Tiger team, and that it takes a lot of work each and every year in this landscape of college sports. Koki, give us a little time now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Koki, how are you?
Doing pretty well. How's it going?
Going quite well. Jay Johnson kind of meticulously working through the transfer portal. When you look at the additions so far, obviously the left-handed pitching stands out, but do you feel like that was the biggest need he felt they needed to address?
Yeah, I think so, especially from the pitching side. I mean, they have plenty of righties and plenty of right-handed options, especially if you think Jaden Nude or Gavin Guidry or Devin Sheeran. They're going to have all those guys back probably, at least in Nude's case probably. So I feel like you were pretty set there when you have a guy like Evans and maybe even a guy like Cowan in your rotation too. They just need more left-handed options. And, guys guys who had the stuff to pitch at this level. And that's the thing that Garcia has. That's the thing that Lockenmeyer has. That's the thing that Smart has already proven that he has because he was obviously at Tennessee. So they just need to make sure they had guys who kind of had the swing and miss stuff, the strikeout stuff to pitch at this level. And I think they do.
Is it reasonable now to suggest that most pitchers that transfer from anywhere else to LSU are going to take a jump based on resources and coaching now that we've seen these transfers come in and do what they've done the last few years?
Yes. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee because, I mean, like Connor Benj was a guy who was kind of towards the top of the bullpen and then he faded away. Like Connor Ware, same with him, like we had very high expectations for him heading into this season and that just didn't end up working out. So like, it's not a guarantee, like Chandler Dorsey never got his footing here. Cade Woods never got his footing here. It seems like the list is very small, but when you really start thinking about it, the list is actually longer than you think it is. But at the same time, there have been plenty of successes. This is why they've won 2 national championships in 3 years and have, multiple pitchers who are either in the major leagues or about to make the major leagues. In the case of even a Kate Anderson or whoever. So Gage Jump, who's in the futures game. So I think things have gone, really, really well for them on the transfer pitching side. And they've been more successful with the transfer pitchers than anyone else in the country. I think it's safe to say that since Jay Johnson's been the coach there. But at the same time, like it's not a guarantee. I still think you're at least one of these guys are going to hit, maybe all 3 of them, probably 2 of them at least. So we'll see how it all turns out.
As far as the offense, do you feel like they're still looking for a bat or 2, and what position might that bat play if they are still looking?
For me, it's second base. Second base is still a need for this team, and given the way that things are trending with Chris Stanfield right now, outfield could potentially be another spot. I mean, they have a decent amount of outfielders from the freshman class that could maybe slide in. But I don't think Jaden Foskey is coming here. We'll see with William Patrick. He's kind of on the fence. There's Dean Moss as well. So there's some freshmen who could maybe slide into that third spot. But you don't have Ashton Larson anymore. You might not have Ethan Fry. You're probably not going to have Chris Stanfield. So all of a sudden your outfield options are sort of getting plucked one by one. And it's going to be interesting to see who's the third guy next to Brent Curiel. The outfield is a bit more, I guess, shakier than I thought it would be heading into this. I think second base is still definitely a need, even though you have Tanner Reeves as an option who can play there. But at the same time, I think you kind of want someone to slide in there. And plus, you're not sure which freshman you're going to have either. So it's like that position is definitely in flux as well.
I know enough about the signing class to understand the big picture. Each individual case we'll get more clarity on in the next 2 weeks. But do you sense just a massive amount of volatility with the signing class? Because you don't have to question Connor Griffin, he's never going to come. There just feel like there are a lot of 60-40 guys, a lot of 40-60 guys, a lot of 50-50 guys, and that makes the roster hard to juggle, right?
Yeah. So there's 4 or 5 guys who I'm 99% confident they'll end up at school. And if they don't end up at school, it's because they don't make the team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then there's 10 guys. And Omar Cerna used to be on this list, and now he's not on this list anymore, who could at least theoretically get picked. 20% chance guy who shows up on a draft ranking list, some sort of, that sort of guy. So you have Cerna in your pocket, and that's another catching sort of prospect that you can sort of slowly develop and play midweek games next season, and you don't have to really rely on him next year. I think that's kind of the best role for him next season, just given based on like who I've talked to about him and what I've read about him. But everybody else is just a big question mark. There's a couple of guys who I lean one way than the other. Like I think Quentin Young's going to go. I'm pretty confident Jaden Foskey's going to go. Like those two guys have fans in Major League Baseball for sure, and could go in the first round. And then after that, it gets really, really gray. There's a couple of guys who I lean them more towards coming here, and then there's some real toss-ups. William Patrick, like kind of just mentioned, he's a Louisiana guy, so like I kind of lean him coming to school, but at the same time, he's a top 100 prospect, so that's going to make things tough as well. So yeah, like I don't know, it's going to be really this out of all the recruiting classes they've had, this is probably the most volatile in terms of who goes and who stays, because they don't have any obvious slam dunk top 15 picks. No one's going to get top pick in the top 20 probably, I assume. But there's a lot of guys who can go between rounds, 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. Yeah. I say.
And there's 7 figures to be waiting for those guys if an organization values them to that degree. So let's talk about the guys that were on this past roster. You mentioned most of them, but let's talk about 3 in particular: Connor Ware, Chris Stanfield, and Zach Cowan. What do you think?
I think Cowan comes back. Talked to a couple of people this morning about him, and I just don't think he has enough of a fastball to guarantee him 7 figures. And I don't know if it's worth his time unless he's getting close to 7 figures to go Major League Baseball when he can just come back to LSU, get a decent NIL deal, and become a starter for maybe the best team in the country. I just feel like that package is more appealing for anyone. I don't know what he wants to specifically, but that package just seems more that appealing for anyone. So I think he comes back. Stanfield, it sounds like he's going to go. It seems like he has fans in Major League Baseball. He's a really good athlete. We've known that for a while. I think he's going to have to retool his swing to make it to the major leagues. But at the same time, like when you're that good of an athlete, it's hard, and you've proven that you can catch up to high 90s fastballs and play at the highest level. Winning the national championship. I think that means he's probably going to go at this point. And the other name you mentioned was Ware, right?
Right.
And with Connor, I lean towards him going, but I don't really know because he didn't have as strong of a season as I think a lot of people expected him to. But he had a lot of fans in the fall from the scouting community, so maybe that holds. And it's still hard to teach his ability to IVB the baseball and let that thing ride. So we'll see. He's going to be interesting, but I think. Things didn't go great this season for him, but I still think there's going to be one or two teams that are pretty interested in him.
He still throws with his left hand, and he can still throw 4 pitches. So somebody, it feels like, may jump up and grab that. Is there a player that's definitely returning who you feel like it's an important summer and fall for as they head off to Cape Cod or the Northwoods League and then come back to campus for fall ball?
I think the obvious answer is Cade Arambidi, right? Yeah. I think, Chatham is a good team for him to sort of be on. And there isn't a ton of summer guys this year just because they, won the national championship and played the maximum amount of games that you could have played, pretty much. But he's an obvious guy in terms of just getting more games underneath his belt as a catcher, improving his blocking, improving his framing. That defensive development is just so critical for him. And even some of the offensive development, right? Like we saw, pieces and flashes of it this past season offensively, but there was still a decent amount of swing and miss, and he had some trouble with off-street stuff, especially away. So I think the Cape League is kind of perfect for him, and I think Chatham is a very good spot for him to sort of develop at. And again, like, he's going to be the starting catcher next year, like, barring some sort of pretty big surprise. So I feel like, this offseason is going to be very important for him.
We know you'll be all over it for the next couple of weeks until draft day, so we appreciate a little bit of time. We'll let you go for a couple of weeks. Maybe we'll revisit when the draft settles down, all right?
All right, awesome. Sounds great. Thank you.
He's Koki Riley with The Advocate. Interestingly enough, if you're just completely sick like me, just a sick human being, I found Chatham's Twitter feed, and they stream their games live. And they actually sent out a tweet. It's like, okay, Darren Beatty's on deck. So I clicked the link, and I watched his at-bat last night. It was not good. He struck out. But you can watch some of these Cape games. I've always tracked the stats, which are hit or miss, quite frankly, on the Cape website. Sometimes Baseball Reference does a better job. But being able to watch live, I really enjoyed. If LSU would ever send a pitcher up there that I wanted to really track, which Devin Sheeran is there right now, I'll probably watch him at some point. But got a chance to watch an Darren Beatty at bat, and I'll probably check in on that here and there. And I'll just relay the info here. But appreciate Koki for laying that out. I do think it's a big summer for K. Darren Beatty. He's got every tool, man. Every tool in the toolbox. He's got a big arm, great frame, hits for power, bat speed, can run a little bit. Like I've said this a few times, and I don't believe it to be hyperbole. I don't recall the last catcher at LSU with a toolbox as complete as Aaron Beatty's. Like, Papierski couldn't really run, but he had everything else. Big frame, could hit for power. He's a switch hitter. Didn't necessarily hit for contact, but good arm. There just haven't been a lot of completely toolsed up catchers. And Brady Neal had a lot, but Aaron Beatty's bigger and stronger than Brady Neal. So that's a guy that they have really high hopes for in that baseball program. And I don't care. I mean, I will care, but him hitting 198 in the Cape League this summer doesn't mean he's toast. It's a tough league to hit in. The pitchers are really good, and you're using a wooden bat. And the fields are big. Nobody really hits home runs. It's a tough league to hit in. But hopefully he turns a little bit of a corner up there and is ready to roll when he gets back to fall ball coming up here in a couple of months. So appreciate Koki for a little bit of time. We got What If Wednesday coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
All right, moving right along here. Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. You can find them online at builtbyrenaissance.com. Second hour, we are jam-packed. We've got my guesses on LSU's 3 Media Day attendees based on performance last year's SEC Media Days. And I've now talked to these players. I've now got a year under my belt of speaking to a lot of the LSU players and get a sense of who enjoys media, who's good at handling media, who may not be as good. And I think it'll be interesting to see who LSU decides to take. So I've got my guesses there. And then Larry Holder, I got one question for the Saints entering the summer. I'll give you my thoughts on that coming up at 2:15. But right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
All right, first one here. What if there was an Omaha bracket with all 8 LSU World Series champions? Who would win it all?
That's good that they've got an even 8 now that we can fill the whole field with it. Full disclosure, not going to be, not going to hide my cards here. I don't have good perspective at all on 91 and 93. I couldn't even confidently name a lot of players on that team, on those two teams. I know what era it was, OJ and Shiraka and Paul Bird and all that, and I know some of things about it, but I don't have near the knowledge of those teams as I do 09, 23, 25. I feel good saying that Skeens is the best ace. And when you put the 23 team with that lineup and Skeens on the mound, like, I'm going to take them against everybody in that first game. And that gives you a huge leg up on just about everybody. I feel like you start talking about number 2 starters, like you got Ianson, you got Floyd. I don't know who was behind Coogan back then, but then you got Renato and Coleman. That's pretty good for the 09 team. I feel like the other piece to this puzzle is the eras. And those teams in 96, 97 that hit so many home runs with those bats in that era. Like, the lineup we just watched in 2025 would struggle to keep up with those guys. Now, they got Anderson and Ianson, which helps.
Well, also, but like what in terms of the equipment, what'll be,
I mean, Jones would have been fine. Jones would have hit 35 home runs. But you got guys in that lineup that just aren't going to keep up with that at all. I look at it. I feel like the 23 team is considered the best. Now, do I want them coming out of the losers bracket with that pitching staff against some of the Gorilla Ball teams? Not really. Not really. But I feel like they're the best. And if Floyd gives me what I saw in Omaha from Floyd against some of those teams, like, I feel like LSU's got a chance because Skeens is the best. And I do think that the 23 team could have competed offensively with whoever you wanted to throw out there from some of those late 90s teams. So I'm not great at this. This is a Hanny question. This is a Rance question. But I feel pretty good about the 23 team in just about any setting you want to put them in. Yeah,
it's hard. But yeah, I definitely know less than you, so I would probably lean on some of the more historical guys like Hanny. I would like to see what
me that Doug Thompson was the number 2 in 97 behind Coogan. So look, the Duggar, feisty competitor, but all I hear from the Duggar in the press box is how terrible he was and how everybody hit a home run off of him. And
some guys are like that.
I have more perspective on Doug.
All right, next one here. What if you could remove one program from the SEC? Who would it be, and who would you replace them with? I guess school would be more.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be Missouri all day, every day. They don't add to me anything. They haven't been good at any of the sports. They're supposed to be good at basketball. They've gone winless in the league twice. I hate their uniforms. I don't think they have any traditions. They are far away. It's cold. Their baseball team doesn't even try. Like, I don't have any need for Missouri ever. And if you were asking me to pick a school to replace them with, probably if I'm going to play along with the game and you're just going to let me pluck one away, that's being reasonable, probably North Carolina. That adds a blue blood basketball team in. They're really good at baseball. They add another state. It's a great state. North Carolina is awesome. Football, they're going to struggle to keep up, but it's a tough league to keep up with in football. Yeah. So maybe if they come to the SEC, they keep up a little easier. But
how about Florida State? I think that would be good.
Yeah, they fit culturally, they fit geographically.
Good at baseball,
but I know that there's a blockade against them, and you're trying to add state. So I was kind of trying to play along with the SEC in that line of thinking. But yeah, Florida State fits just fine.
All righty, next one. What if we pick nobody else up in the portal? Who plays third base and second base?
So Braden Simpson and Seth Darter both have played in the infield, first, second, third, a round. And I'm going to watch those guys in the fall. That's my favorite thing about the fall is kind of seeing how guys look comfort-wise, especially defensively. And so I don't know today, but you got Tanner Reeves, Chase Darter, and Braden Simpson, who all three have played on the infield. And I'm not asking any of them to go take Milam's gig at short. I think there's a good chance that those three are your options. You clearly are going to give John Pearson a look. I don't know if he's a SEC infielder. I think he could be an SEC DH, but I don't know that he's an infielder. And then we'll see what else shows up in. The question is if we don't go anywhere else in the portal, we'll see what shows up in the signing class. But again, that's going to be a next week exercise for me in totality. I'm going to spend a lot of time on the signing class between now and Monday and Tuesday of next week, and I'll have better answers for you there. But probably the portal guys, and we'll see if John Pearson really takes some strides. I had a conversation with somebody in September of last year about John Pearson, and they said his profile on the high side is Tommy White, but the likelihood is that he's a DH.
Yeah.
And obviously, Tommy White's profile hit 27 home runs as a freshman, and John Pearson did not. So I'm not trying to put him in the air, but you're talking about a guy, Tommy White, leaned out his body, worked really hard on his defense, and became a good third baseman. Now, keep in mind, that was his third year of college. We've only watched John for 1 year. So that there's still room for that growth, but I don't know that I'm betting on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on, especially not next year. Maybe in 2 years, maybe, but I would agree with you there. All right, next one. What if I could give you a free ticket to the Home Run Derby or the MLB All-Star Game?
So we'll be in Atlanta for that. We're going to be in Atlanta that Sunday,
that's right.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I actually looked this up yesterday because I was like, well, I want to see if the Braves are in town. I didn't realize it completely coincided exactly with the All-Star break. So which one would I go to? I would go to the All-Star game.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the nuance of the Home Run Derby. I don't think you could pay me 25 US American dollars to watch the slam dunk contest anymore. I just don't care at all. I still find the Home Run Derby interesting, just because
they still get a lot of the better
you're
players.
You're looking at the same thing over and over again in the dunk contest.
Yeah.
In the Home Run Derby, it's just like, can you hit the homers?
And
like,
also,
I would like to watch the 3-point contest more than the Home Run Derby.
But yeah, it also like nobody does the slam dunk contest anymore.
Right.
Nobody
like,
good does it.
They miss half of them, and it's just like it doesn't really. I just don't like it anymore. Like I would watch the best performances, the Vince Carter performance, the Dwight Howard when he did the Superman cape and he put the sticker on. Like, some of those are awesome, but I just feel like that's very few and far between.
Yeah.
Home Run Derby, I do appreciate and would go if you gave me a free ticket, but I have to pick the game if you're going to let me pick.
Have they? When did they announce the selections for
the starters? Today.
Okay, and then what about the Home Run Derby? They already got everybody for
They've
that?
got a couple. No, they don't have them all.
Okay.
I think they have 3 or 4.
Yeah, I wonder if Seiya's got a chance. He's up there in the top 10.
He's hit a lot of home runs. I don't know that I would.
Probably not.
His home runs are like line drives in the third row.
Did you see the one he hit yesterday?
He did hit way up in the air yesterday.
He hit a moonshot yesterday.
He did yesterday. It's rare, but it's usually not what shows up. You got anybody for chat, or is that it?
All right, one more. I think we've probably done this before, but what if LSU gets the snap off in time against Auburn in 2016?
Touchdown. Les eventually gets fired because you know that there was a want to fire him at that point, and it was only a matter of time because that style of play just wasn't going to get it anymore. But it wouldn't have been that. Wouldn't have been that day.
Yes.
And then maybe let's just play this out. Maybe he doesn't get fired at that point. He doesn't get fired till after the season, and then they don't hire Ogeron as the interim, and Derek Konansky doesn't leave to go do that,
effect.
and I don't come do the morning show with Jordy,
Man.
and then I don't get hooked up with that situation, and maybe I'm not here.
It's just crazy.
Maybe that day when I was in an engagement party kitchen, I don't even know whose kitchen I was in, but I know that I was at an engagement party with no sound, and we were freaking out when they were doing the radio because nobody knew when they were doing the replay because nobody knew what anybody was saying on the television. But I was at an engagement party, don't even know what couple it was for or what house. It was in Baton Rouge, and LSU lost, and I was very sad. But maybe I have this show today because of that.
It's just crazy to think about sometimes.
Shout out Danny Etling.
How
Who caught that shark?
I think it was. I don't know though.
It was too.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and look. But that's my inclination
I
currently.
think I was at that game.
You were at the Auburn game in Auburn?
Oh wait, no. I'm thinking of the 28. What was the game where Chark ran the punt back? Wasn't that an Auburn game?
18. No, because it couldn't have been 8 unless they switched him because 16 was when he got fired.
It was when they came
17.
back. They were down like 20 points or something.
Yeah, 17.
I was at that game. Though.
Yeah, they got smoked. And they were getting smoked
They
when that
were.
game came back. All right. Huge injury in the sports world yesterday. We'll talk about it coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
I learned something yesterday. The WNBA also has a stupid in-season tournament. Did you know that?
Well, of course they do. They're the NBA's. They're the part basically.
I saw Caitlin Clark's team on the commissioner show. I was like, oh, that's what they must
She didn't
call
play,
the
by the way,
WNBA.
either.
I knew she didn't play. Nope, just some mid-season tournament, like the AAU. It's just mind-blowing that this is what our basketball has come to. But huge injury, not the Caitlin Clark injury. Huge injury in that game. The Red Panda.
Yeah.
Injured wrist, falling off the unicycle. If you don't know who the Red Panda is, she's the halftime show that rides the unicycle way up in the air and flips cups
One
on
of
her
the
head.
best.
And that's really the point. I am so impressed. The injury and the bowls that she has dropped over the years make her show more impressive to me because I know that it's real.
Yes.
Like, if you showed me what Quick Change does, some sort of vacuum thing that sucks up their attire behind their back, or if you showed me the actual nuts and bolts of what Quick Change was doing, I'd be like, well, that's not.
You don't want to know how
you just
sausage is
have a
made.
machine. That's cool. I loved watching it the first time. It blew my mind the first time. But then you see it and you're like, I don't know what they're really. The Red Panda is legitimately riding a unicycle, flipping cups on her head. And to me, the most impressive thing about the Red Panda is not that she can ride a unicycle and flip cups on her head. It's that she discovered she had the ability to ride a unicycle and flip cups. Because how do you learn you're good at that?
Yeah, why would you why would you decide this is what I'm going to do?
I mean, I have no idea if I'm good at that. I have an inclination.
You would be terrible at it.
Of course. But the fact that the Red Panda has made mistakes just makes me more impressed because I know that she's doing it for real, night in, night out, riding a unicycle, flipping bowls on her head.
Yes.
And it was a nasty fall last night. I mean, she hadn't even started yet, and she falls right off the front of that unicycle and just like straight on her backside.
Yeah.
And she caught herself with the wrist, and that's gonna be a broken wrist.
See, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, Hunt, but I don't know about this situation. Like,
what do you think she did?
I'm saying I did somebody tamper with the unicycle?
Oh well.
Okay, like she has never. I don't know that she's ever.
Are you
fallen
trying to
off.
accuse the WNBA of
trying
to steal eyeballs here?
I'm not saying who it was. I'm not saying I have no idea, but this just is a little stinky to me. It really is.
Can you think of a halftime show you've enjoyed more? I'm thinking of the halftime shows I've seen over the year. You've got the flipping dunkers on the trampoline. Yeah. I don't need that at 37 years old or whatever I am. The dogs chasing the frisbees. Yeah. I'm good on that too. Just head over to some beach in Santa Monica. You can see that when they bring like 900 kids out to jump rope.
Yeah,
that's not going to do it. They play the same song on repeat and like 1,000.
I like the baby
rope.
races. Those are really cool. Those are.
What
always...
about when the kids come out that shouldn't be playing on a 10-foot goal and play on a 10-foot goal and no one ever scores?
They can't score. Yeah,
that's a tough scene.
Yeah.
Then you got Quick Change, obviously. What else has there been for a halftime show?
I mean, I feel like I'm just thinking about basketball, but
that's generally what it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
they don't really. I mean, they have like I don't know if we're talking
LSU
about
football had Lee Greenwood come sing "God Bless the USA" when all the Golden Girls wore red, white, and blue one night. If you're looking for that, but you really don't see a lot in terms of halftime shows.
She's the best, I think, man. I don't know that there's anyone else that is as impressive.
People love the Red Panda.
They do,
and I don't know what she makes for that. I bet I could find out.
I mean, she does it all. She does it for almost every single arena sport. She's there.
Yeah, so I would imagine I could figure out. I could call someone at LSU who might spill the beans on how much the Red Panda makes. But you figure how many? There's 52 weeks in a year. That's 52 weekends. Probably, that was a midweek deal. You got NBA midweeks, college basketball midweeks. What are we thinking?
At least
200, 180 shows a year?
Probably, because she's probably doing, she's doing a multiple a week during the season.
180 shows a year, maybe, for the Red Panda. I wonder what's. I
would think she does pretty well.
I would think so. I would think there's some cash in the Red Panda game. Now, I don't think the Red Panda game extends beyond her.
No,
there's no protege for the bowl flipping on the head on the unicycle.
Yeah, we gotta figure out. She needs to have a successor in place because
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder. Somebody mentioned I bet her workers' comp insurance, if she could get it, would be really expensive.
Yeah, you know what, Hunt? Since you're back in the journalism game, maybe you can do a story. Maybe you can get a
on the Red Panda.
Yeah, maybe we can get a story on the Red Panda and find out her origins.
It is July, which can be tough.
Yeah, so I mean, look, what are we gonna do?
But if you're looking for something to read in July, go check out LouisianaSports.net because I've got a story up right now that details every one of LSU's draft eligible players from the current roster for baseball and what I think that their future holds. I did a little bit of digging on that and kind of got a sense for how the program feels about that. Exit meetings are done. and everybody's kind of moved off. Like I told you, Kate Aaron-Beatty's on the Cape right now. Devin Sheeran's on the Cape right now. You had yesterday the 4 guys on MLB Network. So they're full steam ahead towards filling this roster in 2025, and I think there's a reasonable expectation for what the draft is going to hold. You never know with the draft, and I'll be sure to point that out in the article, but I did write that up over at LouisianaSports.net. So if you're curious about that, go over and check that out. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com. Miss any of the first hour, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, and review. Plenty to do after Sports Center. Got Larry Holder's one big Saints question entering the summer. And who's LSU taking to media days? I got my guesses. Come back with us. Top of the hour coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Maintenance, never a ton of fun when it comes to your vehicle, right? You drive in and you got to get the oil change. Maybe they're going to get you a new air filter. You got to get the wipers replaced, whatever the case may be. But you end up sitting there watching The Price is Right in the showroom, waiting for them to get to your vehicle. And before you know it, the whole morning's shot. Like, nobody likes doing that, right? You don't have to do that with Genesis of Baton Rouge. If you buy a Genesis at Airline and Pico from Genesis of Baton Rouge, they give you 3 years of complimentary maintenance, and it's valet, which means they come to you, drop you a loaner, take your car in, do the service. You never miss a beat with your day. When they're done, they bring the car right on back to you. It's all part of the experience of driving a Genesis. It's a luxury brand at a reasonable price. Check out the inventory on the lot, Airline at Pico across from Women's Hospital. And you can always find them online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. That's GenesisofBatonRouge.com.